to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Folks on the road at the Wisconsin Waco Campground Conference. My internet is kind of in and out iffy, so if I disappear, the show will be great, and maybe Jeremy will take over for me and make it a better show. Will be with me talking. But super excited to be here for you. We are here. We got Casey. Casey's going to join the show. He just popped in. It's behind the scenes there. What's up, Casey?
Hey. How's everyone doing?
Good, man. So we're just getting the show started here. Excited to have you. Obviously, welcome. So let's just go around briefly and introduce ourselves. Casey, you want to start? Last but not least, to join the show?
Last but least, yeah, sure. Casey Cochran, VP of Partnerships here at CampSpot, reservation system and marketplace for the campground and RV space.
Welcome, Casey. Thanks for being here. Jeremy, you want to go ahead?
Me? Jayne? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jayne Cohen, CEO of Campground Consulting Group.
Thanks, Jayne, for being here. Jeremy?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Jeremy Johnson, co-owner of Kona Hill Campground, located in Marquette, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula. We've got a blizzard going on right now, but we plan on being open in a couple months here, 6 or 7 weeks.
Awesome. Well, hopefully the blizzard goes away by then. March is a snowy season where I'm usually at right now in Calgary, but seems to be fine here in Wisconsin. Serge, our special guest, one of our special guests for this week.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate being on here. Serge Mashkov here with Lancaster Log Cabins. Oversee the sales. We sell park models across the U.S. So mainly rustic log cabins, and now getting into the modern space as well.
Welcome, sir. And last but not least, Shawn.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Shawn from Wonderland Resorts, the founder of this eco-adventure resort thing we got going on here in Asheville, North Carolina.
Awesome. Excited to learn more about it, sir. We'll talk to you, Serge, about your cabins as well. So as we typically do in the beginning of the show, for our recurring guests, Jeremy, Jayne, Casey, is there anything that you guys think we should be talking about? I think at some point I mentioned before the show that I'd like to just at least briefly talk about what might happen if gas prices stay elevated on top of everything else. But is there anything else besides that you guys think we should be talking about since the last time we came together? I think I missed the last show. I was deathly ill. You guys were on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk about 2026 in general. Gas prices, high or low, I don't think it matters. I think it's going to be a fun year for at least up north and hopefully a lot of other places.
Jayne, you got anything?
Or
Casey?
Jayne.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. There's a lot. I mean, obviously the big talk right now is just booking windows shrinking, and kind of how once the weather kind of asides, like how that's going to come back and kind of normalize out in terms of what is the new booking window. And then, I think with gas prices where they are, I think people are somewhat accustomed to, again, that dollar range or whatnot. I'll be curious if it affects actual travel because of how high it's been and people's, almost like their soft spot or they've been hardened to the fact of gas can be $3.50 or it can be $2.50. And, I wonder if it's going to affect, our space at all. And then the other big thing that a lot of people are talking about is just how they're leveraging and using AI in their business every day. That seems to be the recurring thing. Like even a lot of our enterprise partners and things of that sort is, I think a lot of people are using it for their personal life, and then how to just more and more incorporate it into their business life. So that seems to be the revolving topic in our world right now.
Well, let's start briefly with just get it out of the way with the gas prices and everything else. You've got a lot of data, obviously, at CampSpot. I don't know how much you want to share it, but we've seen Michael tweet publicly, or tweet. I always say tweet, but on LinkedIn he posted publicly about the transient business, and I'll let you kind of fill in what I obviously interpreted. It seems like what he was saying was transient might be down 10%. What his recent LinkedIn post said.
So same year over year, and the tough thing with that data set is that a lot of those same sites year over year have transitioned to more of the seasonal stays, right? So the idea of occupancy or an occupied site, or even realistically looking at ADR for those transient sites, a lot of times are still able to increase, and you're still seeing overall revenue in some capacities somewhat be able to maintain. But it's hard to tell right now because a lot of those reservations that are in that might have had 3 or 4 reservations on them already, it's just going to have one on there, right? Because they've transitioned that to a seasonal and they've made that, that switch in terms of saying, well, we're just going to take the guaranteed seasonal rate as opposed to the upside of obviously a transient site rate. So I think, we'll each, it feels like every week or two, every two right now, there's kind of new insights to the actual reality of it as opposed to, what we're seeing early in the year.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while for us to figure it out. It may be like May or early June before we really understand how the season's going to go. But I think, like, in my mind, my best guess is long-term camping's fine. I think state parks are fine. I think businesses like Jeremy are fine. And I think the waterfront people are probably going to be fine. Outside of that, I'm unsure right now. I'm not saying bad. I'm not saying good. I'm just unsure. I don't know. All signs are pointing toward maybe a little bit of a softening. But it's so early.
I know I was talking to an operator out in North Carolina maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago who traditionally, I think, he's kind of a newer operator just like me, but he's been open maybe 3 years. And he said that he was specifically switching over to more long-term stays this year because he was worried about that softening. And he's not he's in a beautiful place in North Carolina, but he's not in a high tourist area. He's not right outside of a big metro. He's kind of in this in between. And so it ends up being just easier for him to switch over to that long-term stay. So I think that is happening. But I think to your point, Brian, people that are in those classic tourist areas or on a waterfront or high demand, I at least for us, I mean, we've probably got, and I mean, we're a small campground, so it's not exactly representative, but I mean, we've probably got 250 reservations on the books for 2026 already. And it's, it's March and I've got 6 feet of snow on the ground and another 8 inches falling right now.
I checked out just for my own, look into it. I checked out, we go to Ocean Lakes Campground every year, Myrtle Beach. It's like one of the bigger ones in the country. And I mean, they're booked out all summer. I couldn't even get a reservation there. So that obviously that's a big one. People booked that a long time in advance, but I feel like I booked it the same time last year. We had no problem. So I don't know. That could be a good indicator, but
yeah, it depends on where. We're the same thing. We just onboarded Myrtle Beach Travel Park, which is right next to Ocean Lakes. Again, similar, whatever it is, 2,000 sites or something.
Yep.
And their main priority is bookings for 2027 already. Like that's what they're looking at is those types of bookings. So again, relative to where you're camping and, being on the ocean and Myrtle Beach certainly helps. But I think what some parks, if we could be realistic, I think the days of building a park, and basically a parking lot and calling it a transient campground to some extent, it's going to be hard for those types of properties that don't have either the amenity or the location or something within its hospitality aspect that makes it unique. There is going to be a difference there because the demand for that type of camping, I think, is, there's a vetting period where people are just trying to find places where to camp. And then as you find more and more and more, the ones that pay attention to location or that, had really good hospitality experience and things of that sort, those are the ones that are going to continue to win. And if it was just a parking lot that had some spots that hook up on it, and you call it a transient campground, it's going to be, those are going to be tough to for longevity of those types of reservations.
Well, especially as you tamp down your spending, people who might have gone on 3 camping trips go on 2 or 3 and go on 1. Then there's more of I want to make sure that this one trip is the most magical, special place I can make it. It's the reason people go to Disney, right? Like Disney is almost a guaranteed good vacation. So it's low risk if you're going to spend your one vacation there. And so I think that's where you're going to start to see people like the Blue Water on the ocean front in Delaware and Maryland, like the Myrtle Beaches. They're going to have good seasons still because that's a more of a certain thing. If that's my only vacation I'm going to take, it might be a little bit more expensive, but I know it's going to be good.
Yeah. This is Jayne. I agree with all of you that destination locations, or more so destination areas, you have continued to do well. Even in the past couple of years, they've continued to do well. And they typically don't have a lot of extended stay, right? Or seasonals. But there is a trend for more seasonals. As far as the economy goes, I mean, I've been in this business for over 50 years. And so lived through gas shortages, recessions or depression, if you want to call it, lived through people getting, laid off, the collapse of the banks. And at one time I had 13 parks, and we always had a better year before. All right. And not all the parks were located on the water or located in the best locations that were, locations that people were driven to, let's say. So I do feel there's a big element of the operator, the customer service. It's also an element of what you offer. That I think over the years, competition has gotten stiffer, right? There's a lot of nice parks out there now. In the days, there weren't a lot of great parks out there. If you were a great, more sophisticated operator, more modern, you really were different than the pack. I don't like the word transient. So I don't know how you guys feel when we say transient. When I say transient, I think of the parks that are right off the highway. Those are transients, right? People, we have a motorhome, my husband and I, we're just off the road for the night, right? We're just at that park because it happens to be where we need off the road. But, I think of more either short-term guests or long-term guests or vacation type guests. And then, of course, there's extended stay that are guests that are living there, or guests that are extended stay, like a seasonal, a second home. So, how do we define? So I think the economy and demand all has to do with what business model you are. These days, it's more temperamental to what business model you are. And a bad economy or high gas prices, I think gas has to really go way high before it starts affecting us as an industry. I think it's a very small part of the equation for what is spent. Like I feel they'll cut out going out to dinner before they'll cut going on a camping trip, period. So they can cook in their rig instead of go out to dinner. So there's other ways they can make that camping trip become affordable.
Yeah, I agree with you. The data is there to back it up. I've talked to Scott Barr about this before, how they will cut things like the just going out to eat before they cut the whole travel experience. I don't think that gas prices impacts our industry traditionally isolated all by itself as much as some people think it does. But I think gas prices compounded on top of some other things that the economy is currently going through. That's what worries me more than gas prices itself. Is that fair, Jayne? Or
yeah, I think that's very fair. But the research also supports that one of the last things that people don't do is they don't give up their vacation, right? They don't give up their family time. So they might change how they do it, but they don't give it up. It's like the very, like times really have to be bad before they're going to give that up in the family. And luckily that's the business we're in, right? And even luckier for us is we're in an industry that out of all the vacation choices, we're pretty much the most economical one. And if families are on a budget and need to cut things, we have a lot of flexibility with that, right? I mean,
our industry does, but we released our pricing report like a couple weeks ago, right? And I think the interesting thing there is like the industry itself does have a lot of room to be flexible with pricing. I think though that if people are trading down, they might trade down from a $60, $80 private campground site to a $20, $30 still full hookup, maybe not as nice, pull through back inside of the state park, provincial park, stuff like that. Or they go to tent camping, or they go, right? That's what, like, I'm worried about the trade. I'm worried about the down of the private campgrounds, not our industry at a macro level.
I was talking to another friend in Chicago earlier today who, he invests a little bit more in the luxury stays. And there is a luxury property that he's familiar with that opened up at the beginning of 2026. They opened up their calendar for 3 years in advance, which they've never done before. And out of the 3-year opening, the period that they opened up, they only got about, I think it was $26,000 worth of bookings, which, they're a luxury stay. and they're opening for 3 years. High demand area, really awesome place. But it was surprising that, I think people are just, not necessarily surprising, but it was, I think, revealing how uncertain people are about this year and beyond. And I think to your point, Brian, I mean, I personally don't know anywhere, at least in my region of the Upper Peninsula, where you can get a campground for $25 a night. That doesn't exist here anymore. I think, our base price is probably $40 and we're pretty rural, but, I think I even see it where we don't have RV hookups, and we're seeing people say, you know what, I'm only going to be there for a weekend. I don't need to pay $120 for an RV site. I'll go pay $45, $50 for a tent site, and I'll be just fine.
Jayne, any rebuttal? Or we're not trying, I don't think I'm debating with you, Jayne. I'm just curious your thoughts.
So here's my thoughts. I disagree. I don't think we are necessarily a commodity. I think that a price, I feel like you can get the rate that you want to get, and obviously you have to look at the market depending upon the market that you're in. But I just feel that rate is built on value and what your value is and what your location is. One of the places I love to camp is in KOA in Sugarloaf Key. Okay. And they get, their sites are, you can't get a site for less, the site in the back, the crappiest site in the house is $200 a night. And you know what? It's full all the time. And there is
your location.
It's because of location. Yes. But it's also, there are parks that are in that area that aren't full, in, July, because July is not season for them, right? It's not high season. But, it goes back to value and what you offer and services, customer service. So I think that is how price is set. And I have not believed or never believed that campers are that conscious about the rate at the campground. I think if it's a campground that they want to go to and a place that they want to be that has the amenities and the facilities that they want, they're not then pricing it I could go to this other one for $20. I think where they're going to save the $20 a night is save it on something else while they're camping. I just know that of the campgrounds that I've owned and operated, my most expensive sites with the most site amenities always had the best occupancies.
Jeremy, any thoughts?
I definitely don't disagree. I think the value is what people are looking for, whether that is, in our case, it's not the amenities in terms of hookups, whether that's sewer or electric. In our case, it's nature. It's being next to trails, it's being next to the town, it's being next to water. And so it's to me, it's wherever, if I'm competing with the RV park down the road, which there's one down the road for me, 4 miles, that they are a parking lot off the highway. And their prices are, yes, they've got full hookups, but their prices are 3 times as that I am. I don't have full hookups, but I'm 4 miles closer to town. I'm right across the street from the water, and you're fully immersed in the woods. You're not in a parking lot. So I think to Jayne's point, the value is there, not just in terms of I'm cheaper, but also you get a better experience. And that's why, I think people are going to be looking for that value more and more as things get a little bit tighter. I think we're all in agreement.
I think we're all agreeing. We're just saying it in different ways, right? I think whether it's oceanfront, lakefront, waterfront, amenities, you have to have a difference maker, though, is what there are. I don't know what the percentage is, right? But there are a large percentage of RV parks in the United States that probably don't have a differentiator.
Correct.
Versus other RV parks. And those are the ones that I'm more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point where convenience only goes so far. It's it's like great. It's a park 4 miles outside of town, and they've got full hookups and a nice bathhouse maybe. But like, there's nothing else around you. You're literally in a parking lot, and it's just like that. That's not going to be enough value to bring somebody in and keep your park full all summer long, or whatever your season, if it's fall or winter, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I
That's
think
interesting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Serge. No, go please.
Yeah,
The less I
Jayne,
talk, the better the show is.
with what you said, Jayne, I think is very interesting. With us building park models, we're seeing a massive turn to luxury with any resort RV park that's opening up, where you have bigger sites. It's all about luxury. Like you said, it's all about amenities. It's about providing the value. It's about providing things to do on site. And there is a big group of people now we're working with that are shooting to get $300 to $400 a night at their stays. And as Jeremy said, like, in theory, it sounds good. I'm curious how those play out long term. Jeremy knows somebody that is open with the luxury stays in the luxury lot. Does that really pan out? I wonder if it's too big of a gap from the luxury that we're seeing that people are going after and what more people are used to. I just wonder if that gap will fill, because a lot of what we're seeing is bent towards luxury. There's a lot of parks that are developing they're working with, and it's all about luxury. It's queen beds aren't big enough anymore. It's got to be king. There needs to have water on site. It needs to have XYZ. So I am really curious how those parks do long term with the price changes in gas and how the market goes as well.
Yeah, I mean that being said,
it's because. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You're good, Jayne. Go ahead.
I think it's so. We're we no longer campgrounds no longer just cater to campers, right? We have rental units, all types of rental units now. So we really cater to the general public as well. There was, I've been around long enough to, we were one of the first campgrounds at our New Hampshire property to have a cabin, right? And back then it was your rustic cabin, right? So it had the little kitchenette. And Serge, I'm sure, I know you guys still sell. Lancaster is one of our favorite cabins that we recommend people. But I know that, and then all of a sudden my dad and I talked about, well, let's have a deluxe cabin. And the deluxe cabin had like more of a kitchen and had more, had a bathroom. Wow. Right. There's a novel concept. Right. And then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to rent my rustic cabins. All my rustic people, even though they were 2 to 3 times the price, moved into my deluxe cabins. Okay. And all of a sudden I had all these rustic cabins. I got to a point where they didn't even rent. I had to add on to them and add a bathroom. And then they became the greatest thing since white sliced bread because, they had that bathroom. They were smaller than the deluxes. So, I mean, I think that it goes back to value. And I think like being in a beautiful cabin at a beautiful facility that has the right amenities for the market and also has the customer service. It's not just about the site. Like that luxury park, like where is it missing the mark? Like, is it just way overpriced, or what it offers not support the value? Where is it? How's their marketing? I mean, there's so many things that go into why that park might not be full. And I do want to add that even with the best of parks, we probably are the firm that do the most development of any consulting firms out there. And everybody thinks when they open their doors, they're going to be like 40, 50% full, which, by the way, 40 or 50% full annually doesn't happen. It very rarely happens. It's, 40% annualized is pretty much stabilization at a park. 28% annualized is every weekend is full. So when you talk occupancy, people usually, that's a number in financial models that they miss. They overestimate it all the time.
Well, I'd love to chime in here because we're kind of new, and I did like 2 or 3 years of homework before I decided to get into this. And one of the things that was helpful was going to the glamping show a couple of years ago. My takeaway from that was that people wanted 3 things. They wanted uniqueness in their stay, not necessarily luxury, but uniqueness. They wanted privacy because, like, at the show, we stayed in glamping tents like this, just a parking lot, but you could hear everybody doing everything. It was not what you want at your place, right? And then 3, people are looking for more sustainability. And what does that mean? You could go into that in many different realms, which was great because I was like, great, these were the things that we're planning on doing. And these were the things I had baked into my model that we launched right after that. And so what we have seen, because we've only been open for like 8 months, is that, so we have tent camping, vehicle camping, glamping, and like high-end villas. So we support the whole, market, if you will, but it's for like a certain type of person. We're looking for outdoor adventure people, creative people, and stuff like that. Our glamping is booking the most, and it's very short windows, like where they're booking day of, a week out, sometimes 2 weeks out. It's very different than I would have thought. But again, we're really trying to just market to a avatar type as opposed to like a dollar amount in phase 1, so that we can then take our learning from that into phase 1 to figure out like what do we really want to build based upon what people are using. So, and then just to top it all off, for every 2 bookings we get 1 phone call about events, because we have like a big open space and everything. And so, if I were to open up another place right now or talk to somebody about it, I'd be like, make sure you can host events there, because we're booking out complete weekends or weeks, by having that capability.
Shawn, I'm curious. You said your glamping units are booking the most. Does that change your plans for like a phase 2? Like, did you think something else would book more than the glamping units originally?
Well, originally I thought that the cabins or the villas would be, but these are like $300 to $400 a night. And the good news is we have more glamping. As a business owner, it makes sense financially to build glamping because it costs less, right? Yeah. And it's not like, the villa costs 5 times more to build, but you don't charge 5 times more for it. So there's that, that delta there. But as like a business owner, the villas are more of an asset, right? So the entire property is worth more, and there's less maintenance on them. Like these tents, like ours are like very custom, high-end tents that we've made ourselves. And yeah, they're really cool, but they're also like, if something goes wrong, we got to rebuild them and start from scratch. And so replicating, it's just not really a possibility either.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to test out, like, we have one just like straight up bell tent with kitschy contents and look and feel, nice like forested site and everything, but that's a lower price point. It's kind of in the middle between the glamping and the tent camping. And so that one's booking decently, but the unique glamping stays are booking the best right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going through the same process right now. I'm looking at building 4 cabins for my next phase, but I'm every day I wonder, should I just go glamping tents first because those are more economical to build? But then to your point, they're not exactly assets compared to the cabins. Yeah. It's harder to get a bank loan on glamping units. Sure. So it's an interesting dilemma to be in.
I did it because I had to do it because I presented a deck to my lender and said, this is what I plan on building.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to build that. But yeah, it will definitely influence phase 2. But we're going to let it ride out for a couple of years and see. kind of how.
Serge, what do you think? Glamping or cabins? What do you prefer?
I was trying to stay out of it. I got a biased opinion. No, I was curious, Shawn, where are you guys based at? Where is your site located?
We're 30 minutes east of Asheville in Old Fort.
Okay.
It's like it's a mountain biking trail town, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll probably capitalize on that a little bit.
So you guys are catering to a very outdoorsy crowd for the most part, is that correct?
Pretty much everybody comes to us to be like base camp or like retreat getaway kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think kind of to Jayne's point, it is interesting to see. It's Jeremy. It sounds like you're kind of catering to a similar crowd as well, where you guys are located, very nature, outdoors people. You're probably not getting a ton of like people from New York City that like want the camping experience, but very polished and without the mess, without all the work. And it is two different crowds completely that you guys, it sounds like catering to. Jayne, some of your sites, do you guys have a range, or how do you guys view that when you're finding your ideal client for your campground? Do you start with
definitely? I'm actually very big on having ranges, right? And more so about having ranges financially for the owner. It's a way to pick up extra dollars for no reason at all. So in other words, stratification of cabins, sites, tents, glamping, every unit that you have, should be on a good, better, best kind of system, right? Based on the size, the location. It is it's really subjective. But, if you have a row of sites that are premium sites, even amongst those premium, some of them should get a better rate or a higher rate, to drive a higher ADR than, if you have a row, the sites in the premiums in the middle should be rated less than the premiums at the end. And the same thing with the cabins. And it's just a way that people accept it. And it's acceptable because it's better location or it's closer to the pool or whatever it is. It's a tent that's more so out in the woods in a more natural setting. So it's like in a hotel. If you get a waterfront room, it's more money than if you get a room that faces the parking lot, right? And because nowadays, and I know I keep saying nowadays, but when you've been in the industry for like 5 decades, you've seen a lot of changes. But, I was in the industry back in the day where we used to do reservations on a board. And then we did it in a book, and you could actually take the book home with you at night. So I could answer the phone at night, right? Because I had the reservation system with me. It wasn't in a board anymore. It was in a book, and then we went to property management systems which were nothing like what they are today. So, that's enabled us to be able to have rates that change and rates that are dynamic pricing. But I think, Shawn, for everyone, it goes back to, you can't have the mentality of, if I build it, they will come, because that's not the mentality anymore, right? The mentality has to be, what is the market? And, you build to the market, okay? Or maybe you find out you shouldn't build at all in that location, right? And so I think
feasibility
it's great.
studies.
Yeah, when we build new developments, and Shawn, I think you're right on. I am a big fan of phasing a new development, because then you have your test market, you have your testing ground, and you have proof of concept, right? And as long as you build in your master plan that you can pivot, that's the smartest way to go. And let the market, because the best research that any of us can do, I can guarantee only one thing: it will not be absolutely right. And so giving yourself the ability to pivot is wonderful. Wonderful. It's a great idea. But I do think glamping glamping went on steroids with COVID, and glamping is a concept. I think there's many different types of glamping. So, there's but I think maybe a true glamper who really is looking for just a glamping experience is really looking, Shawn, what you're saying, more of that unique experience and the environment, not one right after another, not one next to each other, that type of thing. I think that becomes very important.
And one of my reasons for even doing this thing was to try to like bring sustainability into this industry in a bigger way, but also to kind of showcase what experiential hospitality could be. And so Shara asked me, like, what would you talk about if you were to just talk about glamping? I said, our goal is to really like dive into what you can offer on an experiential level. So, which I call programming. And we haven't set up our programming yet. Like we're just we just got set up to, do like overnights, that's phase one or part one. Part two is, like for us, it's okay, what's around us, right? There's all these waterfalls and hikes and mountain biking and da da da. Da. So it's creating the tour partnerships and the ride directors and itineraries and all that stuff. And then what's inside the park, right? And this is where like it's really fun for me because I have the background in experience design, and we really want to showcase like what's possible. And so like some of the things that we're working on is nighttime, like blackout foraging tours. We have night goggles, take people through this really diverse forest that we have and go foraging in the pitch black nighttime. It hasn't really been done before. And then we've got a trail, we call it the Soul Trail, which is designed so that when people get there, it's just like a little loop through a cool rhododendron forest, maybe like 15, 20 minutes. But it's designed to disconnect people from when they pulled in the parking lot, whatever they came with mentally, to like disconnect and reframe this for them so that they can kind of reset. And it's got little stations in it as if it were like an art gallery. And you go through and each station connects you with one of your senses. So, like the 5 or 6 senses, whatever you want to call it. And by the time you get done, and you don't take your cell phone in there, right? That's the other thing. So we're trying to get people to get off their phones. We don't have Wi-Fi in a big portion of our park. And so we're really trying to do a reset to connect people with other like-minded people. That's kind of the obvious one, but really reconnect them with nature and their senses and their like mental clarity, and then connect them with whoever they came with, depending upon what type of trip it is. And so I think that is what's going to capture people. I don't care what you have, like if it's a tent, a cabin, a mansion. I think if you can do experiential, that's the way the world is going, in terms of like the younger generation spending their money, right? That's who we're going after because that's what we, want to be able to offer.
Right.
And I think that's what Jayne. Yeah, I think that's what Jayne is really saying. I'm putting words in your mouth, Jayne. You tell me if I'm wrong, but like again, the thought that Shawn is putting into his park, the experience in it, just besides the accommodations. If you market that well, and you've obviously, assuming you do, but you've done your research on your location and the people in your area, and the demand is there, as you've seen in your glamping tents in phase one, then I think you're not the operator I'm worried about in 2026, right?
Right. Exactly. No, and that's and Brian, yes, that's what I mean. It's the whole package put together, right? And Shawn's right. I mean, that's what folks go for, is the experience. Not everybody wants the same experience, right? But that's why you have to understand your market and understand who you are, right? And what you are offering. I think that programming or activities or events or recreations, whatever you want to call it, I think that's very, very important to people. And some are more passive and some are more active. So it just depends what what that experience is and what your guest is looking for.
But also, again, just like the activity has to be something different, I think. Like what Shawn was talking about, right? It can't just be like, oh, I've got a gem mining sluice like everybody else has. I've got mini golf like everybody else has. I've got a pool like everybody else has. What in these times, right? And it did work for 40, 50, 60 years, right? It worked fine to just have a pool like everybody else.
Right.
But I think you got to think differently.
You do. And now there's like things that are just expected to have, you know, like Wi-Fi, for instance. Wi-Fi is a utility now. Okay. So it used to be, oh, wow, we have Wi-Fi. Not anymore. Like if you have water, sewer, electric, you've got to have Wi-Fi. That is a utility. So as we go down that path, and I know people want to disconnect, and they do, but they want to make sure that they have some Wi-Fi nearby, right? That
we give them Wi-Fi like in the common space, and then But when you go back,
you have to have it.
Like, yeah, for sure.
If you just said we don't have Wi-Fi at all, we just give us your phones at the door and da 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 da. There would be people that would want to do that, but my guess would be most guests, even though they say they want to disconnect, they still want Wi-Fi there.
We're gonna play around with it. We're doing like our first digital detox weekend, which is just like a retreat this summer. So it'll be interesting. I can let you know how it works out, but it is literally like collect the phones when you check in, but you also know what you're signing up for, right? It's very
right, exactly. So there's people that exactly. There are people that, like you said, that they know that's why they're coming there for that weekend. It's like if you had a yoga retreat and you went after people that wanted to come for yoga, right? It would be the same kind of difference.
Yeah. I think, Shawn, you're probably similar to us in this. Like our amenities aren't necessarily, well, I guess to your point, Jayne, they're utilities at this point, but our amenities aren't electric, sewer, Wi-Fi even. Our amenities are that we're right next to like 300 miles of mountain biking trails, and you can literally get on those trails from your campsite. Those are our amenities, and those are why people are coming to us.
Yeah.
It's like what you said, like Myrtle Beach, right? And I'm very familiar with Myrtle Beach. I've worked with a few of the operators there. It's like, those parks are huge, and let's be honest, most of those parks need a lot of TLC, right? They're pretty okay. So that's saying it nicely. And but listen, they're full, okay? Why are they full? They're like right there, like you're in the sand, and some of the sites you're right in the sand, you're right there at the beach. I mean, yeah, if we all had that, then maybe we wouldn't need anything else, right?
Yeah, it's the Sheridan outside of Disney World that hasn't been renovated since 1972 because you don't need to. They just fill it up.
Exactly. But that's not the case for all of us, right? So we need a lot more than that.
Jeremy, with a site like yours and Shawn's, where it is nature-based, are you guys constantly looking at creative ways to take it to the next level, having bikes on site as opposed to have people having to bring them, or to elevate that experience? Or are you trying to keep it as blank canvas as possible and it just, be more open form with?
I would say we look for ways to, I don't know if elevate's the right word, but like highlight. So for example, we've got two different outlooks on our property. One looks out over Lake Superior, 270 degrees, which is super awesome. But then there's certain issues with access, right? We're 200 some odd feet above the lake, and below us it's just a straight cliff down. So there we have to build access. We have to make sure it's safe for people. And then even doing things like place revealing. I think, people might know it more better as place making is I think what I originally knew it as, but now a lot of people are calling it place revealing. Like that lookout is an old quarry site. And so it's like, let's tell the history of that. Let's let people know what was here before, why this is here now. And then same thing with our other lookout. Our other lookout actually is one of the few spaces where you can see this old Native American village that is currently a state corrections facility. So it's a really hard thing to get access to because it's a prison. But we have an overlook that looks over it. And so that's one of the few places where we can actually tell that story and inform not only the local community, but the tourists who are coming to visit. So similar to like what Shawn's saying about doing night foraging tours, there's an opportunity to augment that natural experience and tell a story and give an experience to guests that they probably wouldn't have on their own. They probably wouldn't know that these, whether it's edible items in the woods or this beautiful view exists because of an old dolomite quarry. They wouldn't know that without that augmented experience.
Mm-hmm. No, it's unique. Yeah. Yeah, it is. As you guys were talking about the Myrtle Beach, we talked to a client down there that on beach fronts that's looking to add cabins, and there's nowhere land though. You guys are saying that's it though. They're able to stay full because you can't add anybody else. There's no other property to buy there to build another site. Unless you want to drop $20 million. But I do think there's such a difference, as you're saying, Brian, with these sites that your campgrounds or RV parks that don't have a state park right next to it, or some big nature kind of centerpiece you can revolve your campground or RV park around. So I do feel like there has to be a lot more creativity to elevate that experience.
Yeah,
I like it. Like I hope the industry is pushed more toward creativity, because there's so much beautiful land that I think is underutilized. Just like you were talking about, Jeremy, you haven't underutilized your land, but just the trails nearby that you could take advantage of that most people don't even think about, because people have just showed up in RV parks for 40 or 50 years. They haven't had to think about that.
Yeah.
So I think this pushes the industry in a really great direction.
That was our reason for doing it. We found this 80 acres at the edge of town that was absolutely underutilized and was an old quarry site. And, locals knew about it and used it. And, unfortunately were trespassing on private land, not before we bought it. But even as somebody who grew up here, I didn't really know about it. And so it was like, hey, why is this beautiful piece of land with all these awesome amenities, natural amenities, not being utilized? And that was something that it drove us to do it. And also at the same time, it was solving a problem locally, because we have so much inherent tourism here, and these tourists had nowhere to go. Brian, I think we've talked about it previously, but the city of Marquette actually just enacted a ban on camping overnight in city limits last year. Because so many people are coming here and they have nowhere to go. I mean, every Friday and Saturday night in the summer, I get a phone call saying, please tell me you've got occupancy. I'm coming from 40 miles away. And I'm like, call the next town. I don't have occupancy, and neither do the other 3 people in Marquette. You got to go another 40 minutes west. So that's, I think there's like a real benefit to some of these places beyond just like the natural side, but also just like giving a place for people to be and experience local culture without this might sound dramatic, but without like tearing it down and ruining it for the locals. You don't want people camping in your neighborhood and disrupting your everyday life. You want a purpose-built place for people to be at.
All right, let's spend the last few minutes. We're going to go around. We do this usually to end the show whenever I remember to do it. Just everybody gets to ask one question of somebody else, but once you're asked one question, you're kind of eliminated. So like, in other words, somebody asks Jayne a question, everybody can't ask Jayne a question, even though we all probably want to do, because she's so smart, has been here for so many years. So Jayne, you want to start? Just ask anybody, Shawn, Serge, or Jeremy a question. And anything you want to know?
Yes. I'm going to ask Serge a question. Put him on the spot. So,
right.
What do you, as a cabin manufacturer, what do you see as any new new types of cabins or new types of amenities in cabins, or where do you think cabins are going to go now?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah,
starting
I
to see
think
different designs and different things. And where do you think they're going? The
I think
industry park models headed.
the big push has been, like you said, kind of how you were experiencing on a smaller level. You go from your little rustic stay to a bigger, more grand cabin with a bathroom, and I think the elevation of luxury is just constantly going up. We're having to relook at our options. We're adding more luxurious options now. We're swapping out from a very simple shower. People want to, they want the glass door and the tile now in their stay, and it really is. I think it's just this. We're getting into a place where there is no room for laziness. You're growing or you're dying. I think in the industry now more than ever, like you said, Brian, because you have to be creative. Like just doing enough is not enough anymore. You have to do more than enough. You have to constantly try to elevate what you're doing, because if you're not, your neighbor is. I think the modern push has been really big over the last few years, and that's why we're actually in the middle of rebranding right now, going from Lancaster log cabins to Lancaster cabins, and we'll still do the rustic cabins. We do almost, 680 last year, so we'll still do that. But there's just been this huge push towards, you guys seen it, Shawn, you would have seen it at the glamping show, the all glass cabins, all these epic experiential cabins, the Instagrammable, Pinterest-worthy stays is, I think, what the market's kind of demanding now, is that Instagram-worthy stay. I went and, like you said, Shawn, we did this night experience. People want to showcase what they did or showcase their experience, and that's the same thing in the cabins now. They don't want just a cabin; they want an epic cabin that you can do that with. That you can take your Pinterest, Instagram photo with, and show it off to your friends. Because it's a different market now. It's not just campers or people that are RVers doing it. It's people that kind of want to dabble, that are used to city life and want to go do something like that. But, staying in a log cabin is maybe not their forte, but they still want to get out. So that's what we're seeing, a lot of that modern push.
All right, Serge, it's your turn to ask a question. Before you do, though, I want to tell you, go back and pitch this to Dan after the show. The best money you will ever spend if you want to get into different types of cabin design is go to the SETT conference, SETT. It's in Montpellier, France, and it's like 20,000 people attend. But they have the most amazing, crazy, there's two huge, indoor, epic, there's hundreds of cabins set up from different manufacturers. And they're the most unique things. There was a circuit door slides open 180 degrees from the bedroom, and you could step out to.
That's awesome.
So if you want inspiration or things to do, that is the best conf to go to I've ever been to. And it happens, I want to say it's in October.
Our goal of what we're seeing too is we've seen that there is that modern push, but some of the price, our goal is to price it at a point where, again, it's a business. People are trying to make money. You're looking at it just like you said, Shawn. You could buy your glamping tent for whatever, maybe 10, 15 grand, or you can buy a cabin for 60, 70. You're not renting them for triple, full, quadruple the amount. So same with the modern cabin. I think it is tough though. From what I've seen, some of the prices are very high. And I do wonder, again, for people like Jayne or, Shawn, you're looking at return, ROI on that too. So our goal is to get into that modern space at a very low cost compared to the competition. I mean, that's our goal. We have this assembly line style.
So you go steal the inspiration from the Europeans, is what I'm saying, and you do it a little bit different.
I'm gonna have to tell Dan. I might have to go with my wife though. France sounds.
Yeah, of course, obviously. Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah.
So Serge, who do you want to ask a question to?
Yeah, Shawn, I'm actually curious with what you guys are doing. Very, very experience focused. Have you guys found that your market is? Have you felt any constraint to the size of your market with being so unique in experience focus, or what you're trying to create? Do you feel like that's limited you at all, or?
No, just because we're new. But my methodology on this is look, I've studied Walt Disney my whole life. He created something really unique, and people loved it. So that's proof that you can step outside of the boxes that we've been told to play in, right? And the Cirque du Soleils of the world, right? There's like, and so I've done other like tour company and other things that are very specialized and unique. Some of them are trendy, some of them trend out, some of them have a bell curve. But I think if you're able to be malleable and flex and pivot, then that is the way. So I don't really have a good answer to your question, but just kind of wanted to share that.
All right, Shawn, to Jayne or Jeremy, would you like to ask a question to?
I was going to ask the question to you. Can I ask the question to you?
I guess I'm not really smart, but you can try.
Well, you're a marketing guy though, right?
Yeah, I am a marketing guy.
Okay, so if you had $5,000 to market your fairly new, I'm just pulling a number out of thin air, but to market a fairly new business, how would you think that $5,000 would be best spent?
What's your patience tolerance? Do you need guests tomorrow, or do you need guests in 6 months, or perpetually for long term?
Yeah, I think it's more of like a long-term play.
Probably branding.
Yeah.
Like I would focus on making sure like that what you're creating, all the things you're creating that are unique, the trail and the disconnection and the special weekends and everything you're doing with your amenities. I think it needs to be communicated to your guests in a way that allows them to appreciate the enhanced elevated experience they're going to get before they get to your property. That's an overnight thing, right? So that's why I asked. Like if we would have said overnight, I would have said Google Ads. But if you're willing to have the patience to build that brand up that will set you up for long-term success over multiple years, then that's what I think you need to do to communicate that. And that includes not just on your website and social media, but that means making sure that how you're represented in AI is the same way, right? How does AI talk about your property? Does it communicate those same things well? And if it doesn't, then there's ways you can steer that through press releases and stuff like that. But brand.
Yeah. Cool, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Jeremy, Jayne or Shawn, would you like to ask a question to?
I'm asking a question to Shawn just got asked a question, so I think I got to ask Jayne a question now.
Yeah, nobody's asked Shawn a question. Oh yeah, no. Did somebody ask Shawn a question?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so it's just Jayne. So sorry, you're stuck with the most brilliant one.
Jayne, I'm curious. You said you've been doing this for 50 years. I have a two-part question. One, how many projects have you worked on? And two, what was your favorite project?
What's my favorite project? So like when you have children, you can't pick your favorite, right? But I will tell, because you told me about the quarry, I will tell you in Maysville, North Carolina, we just we completed phase 1 of a 5-phase project that was a quarry. And we're revitalizing the property, right? With the lakes, it has 3 lakes and quarry lakes. And interesting enough how you said that, like, they have high cliffs, right? Higher cliff drops to the lakes. And it's just it's 150 acres, 3 lakes. And we took the property, the old quarry, and turned it into a camping resort. And it's going to eventually be 650 sites. It is phase 1. It's a big mother. We've built 135 sites. We have cabins. Because it's so big and because we master planned it, we have park model sales. We have cabins that we rent. We have annual and monthly sites, and we have a whole vacation area. And in phase 1, we put in the first pool, which is a very modest pool. We put in a gorgeous bathhouse with all private rooms and a pavilion and a playground. We're adding a jumping pillow, I believe, this year. And we built the beach area. So that was just a really exciting project because I was on that project from the dirt till opening. We call it dirt till done. We've actually done a case study on it. We did it for Ojai last fall. We presented it. So that was really a fun project. I'm working on another project now totally different. That is going to be very high end, and we're going to actually sell lot sales. Which, Brian, you might want to have a session on this. Lot sale parks are coming back.
Okay, I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
hearing a lot of it as well.
Yeah. Lot sale parks are coming back. This past year, I've done, in 2025, I did 4 separate studies that were lot sales. I probably haven't done a study on a lot sale park for 8 years. So they're coming back. And this is a new one that we're starting. And it's going to have marina slips and fancy sites with, covers for the motorhomes and, place to park your motorhome with a cover, and then the big motor coach house and beautiful outdoor kitchens, a lot of outdoor living involved. And so that's kind of another exciting project. The fun thing for me is when I was a park owner, we never had enough money. We had way more ideas than we had money, right? or loans that the bank would loan us. Okay, so we had way more ideas. It was easy. My dad always used to say, put together your wish list for the year. And, I could put together a couple $1 million in a snap. And but we never had enough to do it. And now the fun part is working with some of the new folks that are coming in that are developers. We're building things that I only got to dream about when I was an owner, right? But like Jeremy, like you and Shawn, my park was built in stages, and okay, we have a couple $100,000. We had a good year. We got a couple $100,000 to reinvest into the park. What are we going to do with it? What's going to bring us the most business? So I completely understand. I mean, I was 38 years there at the front desk, cleaning cabins, doing whatever I had to do to make it happen. So I completely get what you guys are doing and I'm still working because I love this industry, and I've never had to get up to go to a job. I've always loved getting up and going into the campground in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were very aggravating days, don't get me wrong, but So when I see like Shawn and Jeremy, like see what you're doing and what you talk about, like it makes me want to go visit your properties. So I hope someday I can come there in my, I have an Airstream Atlas van. I'd love to come.
Not over, Jayne.
Yeah. That's one of the benefits. I get to visit a lot of parks. And you asked how many parks. I had 13 parks that I actually either owned or operated at one time across the country. And since I've been consulting since 2011, I've seen and worked with thousands of parks, and just seen the experience for myself and for the industry. Like I could never have dreamed of in 2011 when I said I was going to go out and consulting. A lot of people told me, you'll never make it as a consultant. This isn't an industry that needs consulting. And then all of a sudden this industry just boomed and changed, and it's just so exciting. So you guys are entering it at such an exciting time. The sky's the limit, in my opinion. Sky's the limit. Camping's not going away. The young generation loves us. We just need to find out what they really love and what they really want and what they're passionate about. And this industry is going to.
The young generation loves the outdoors for sure. They're just nervous about the Gen Z's, nervous about getting out here. We gotta welcome them. We gotta change how we're approaching them. But that's all other discussion. We're a few minutes over, so I want to wrap up. Jayne, remind me about lot sales, and we'll talk about it briefly on the show, or whatever we need to next month when we're all back together. I will forget, so I'm counting on you as the young one in the group to remember this. So let's wrap up the show for now. Jeremy, where can they find out more about your campground and everything if they want to learn more?
campconahills.com, or you can, if you want to get in touch directly, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I think Brian might have.
You can find me at.
We lost them.
Go ahead, Jayne. Keep it going.
Campgroundconsultinggroup.com. Just Google it or AI it.
Well, it looks like Brian checked out.
Brian.
We're at Wonderland Resort wonderland.com. That's Wonderland with a U. And I am Shawn Verbrugghe on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Now with Lancaster
Nice.
Log Cabins, again, close to becoming Lancaster Cabins. So hopefully in a few months here, make that transition. So,
Nice. Cool. Well,
all right. Guess we're all in charge of the show now.
yeah, I think we can say goodbye for Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. Take
Nice
care. We'll
to
be in
meet
touch.
you. See you
Happy
next
Thursday, guys.
month.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.